Hey, Rock Hill. Tuesday morning sermon recap from Pastor Kyle. This week I preached on the story of John the Baptist from Mark 6. Many people think that God rewards those who do well and punishes those who do evil, and that's true. However, we then take that and then jump to the conclusion that if things are going well in someone's life, it must be that God's favoring them, or if things are going poorly in someone's life, it must be that God is punishing them. And that's not always true. Take John the Baptist's story, for instance. Here was a man who, among women, there was no one greater than John, who was a holy and a righteous man, one who did what the Father told him to do, said what the Father told him to say, prepared the way for the Messiah. And yet he died in prison, beheaded, because someone he spoke out against, Herod and Herodias, were angry about him. Herod, even though he wanted to silence him, was still intrigued by him, wanted to listen to him, even though it confused him. His wife Herodias wanted him dead, and so they plot this crazy story. Herodias' daughter dances for Herod. It pleases him. He offers her whatever she wants. She asks for John the Baptist's head on a platter. Of all the things she could have asked for, that's what she wanted. See, this story is a fascinating study in what makes us tick. Here you have Herod Antipas, who is kind of straddling the fence, and this decision then becomes forced upon him, and he chooses wrongly. He murders an innocent man. You have Herodias, who is consumed by bitterness and unforgiveness and desire for vengeance, that actually does crazy things in pursuit of that. You have Salome, who's kind of tossed in between this, is one of the main actors, even though kind of a passive one in all of it. And then you have John the Baptist, wondering, God, have you forgotten me? You got to wonder when John the Baptist sends his disciples as he's in prison to Jesus, saying, are you the one who is to come, or should we expect another? And Jesus replies, look at all the signs of the Messiah are here. The blind see, the deaf hear, the dead are raised. Good news is preached to the poor. Now, in quoting that passage, Jesus deliberately leaves off one thing. Do you know what it is? The captives will go free. Those from the prison will walk free. Jesus, in responding to John, is basically saying, I am the Messiah, but you're going to die in prison. You're staying there. The kingdom that's coming is not exactly like what you would think. And so this story in many ways speaks to us in profound and powerful ways as we wrestle through suffering, as we wrestle through God's plan and God's purposes. I want to encourage you to listen to the whole thing because there's a lot of just incredible nuggets of truth in that passage. But what we see is that God is sovereign over all things. God is good, and that God's purposes are often not as clear as we would like to see them. Now, lest we think God doesn't care about our suffering and pain, we need to remember that God has identified in the most profound way with our suffering and our brokenness and our pain. He suffered more than we have so that we can have life. And so in the midst of your circumstances, if you're trying to draw straight lines, maybe stop. That might not be the best thing for you to do. Maybe just reflect on the character of God, the love of God shown you in Jesus Christ, knowing that He is for you. But the things sometimes don't always make sense. So I encourage you to go listen to the sermon. It's on the website.